Welcome to Codex, History of Video Games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, we are doing part 2 of our launch title tier list. We're ranking consoles by their launch title lineup. So we're not ranking the games themselves because there's too many games and we haven't played them all. But we can rank the consoles by which one had the best lineups. And that includes games that are timeless classics, games that are garbage, drag the score down a little bit, but honestly, I'm okay if we just sort of consider the garbage ones just not games and just let's talk about good games. I don't like talking about bad games.
Who likes talking about bad games? Nobody.
A lot of people like talking about bad games on the internet, but not me. I think bad games aren't worth my time to talk about.
Boom, roasted. You heard it here first. Bad games. We're coming for you. Okay.
That's right. If you missed part 1, you can go to last week. But here's where we ended up, because we didn't say at the end of that episode where we ended up. We ended up with E tier. This goes S to F. We have no F tier yet. E tier, Sega Genesis. D tier, PlayStation 1, Xbox One. C tier, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. B tier, NES, PS2. A tier, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Wii, regular Game Boy, Xbox 360. And S tier with the original Xbox launch lineup. Because, wow, it was so good. It's just so good.
It is good. It's very good.
So many high-quality titles.
Well, I want to go in first and do another handheld. And okay. I think we should go into the DS. Dual screen.
The dual screen. The developer system, as Nintendo called it. I don't have my list of launch titles loaded up.
I have mine loaded up. Oh, coming at you live. You ready for it?
Yes, I am.
This is the U.S. launch of the DS. We have Asphalt Urban GT. I'm assuming that's a racing game.
Sweet. Yeah, it was fun.
Feel the Magic XYXX. Don't know what that is. Madden NFL 2005. Metroid Prime Hunters.
First Hunt demo. That's the important part, because it wasn't the actual full game. That didn't come out until 3 years later.
That's right. Spider-Man 2. Super Mario 64 DS, which I played, and The Herbs, Sims in the City.
Okay, so that's a small lineup, especially for later in, some of the older consoles only have a couple of games. This is a later release, I'd say. 2004, I guess it's almost 20 years old now, but it's a smaller lineup than other things from around that time.
What's interesting is the US launch is before the Japanese launch for Nintendo in this case, which is very different than most of the time. So, of the games I've played in that list, I have played Super Mario 64 DS, and that's it. And that's just a remake. It was a cool remake. Yeah. You could play as Yoshi and stuff, but
it was a pretty enhanced remake.
This is kind of weak to me.
You know what? I was just gonna say. So my brother picked up a DS on the day they came out, so I have experience with almost all of these games actually. Asphalt Urban GT is a really good racing game. In fact, the lineage of that series continues to this day, mostly in mobile games on phone. They're full of mobile game, whatever, but they always have great graphics and really good presentation. If you download Asphalt 9 or whatever it is now, it looks like a cool game. I don't know if it's fun or not. I don't really play racing games, but it still continues to this day. Another standout, Madden NFL 2005. That was pretty sweet because it was in 3D. It was the PlayStation version of Madden NFL 2005, or felt like it. I think because this was in 2004, there was huge novelty in being able to play 3D games portably, like Madden, like Super Mario 64 DS.
Oh, that's a very good point.
So while it was Super Mario 64 was just a port, and it was an enhanced port because you could play as Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Yoshi, I think. And they changed some stuff. There's 150 stars instead of 120 stars. There might have been some extra levels too. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think the novelty of being able to play that game portably was very, very cool at the time. It was not just it's just a game I've already played. It was I can play this game in the car on a long car trip. That's awesome. So that's cool.
Do you want to make it mid, kind of? Is it kind of mid more than to you?
Well, let me tell you about Metroid Prime Hunters. First Hunt demo. It sounds like you don't have any experience with this
I have
game.
No experience with this.
So Metroid Prime Hunters would come out 3 years later, but it was a full-on first-person shooter on your DS, and it had cool touchscreen controls for controlling Samus's arm cannon or whatever. The full game ended up like not being that great as a Metroid Prime game. It was like the levels were really small. It just didn't feel great as a Metroid game. But the small thing that we got in the demo, which came with every DS for, I don't know, the first year or so probably, the small bit that we got in there in the single player was kind of cool, but it had multiplayer. The demo did. And everybody who bought a DS at launch got this sweet multiplayer FPS game to play with their friends wirelessly, which was also a novelty of the Nintendo DS. I know the Game Boy Advance had like a wireless thing for Pokemon or whatever. That I think it only worked with that game and like maybe 2 other games. But the DS was the first to have like real wireless like built into the thing. And playing Metroid Prime Hunter's First Hunt with other people who bought a DS in that launch window was really, really cool. And I honestly think that elevates this quite a bit. Plus, we're missing a title here. PictoChat. Can't forget about PictoChat.
Oh, that came out at launch?
Yeah, well, it's just built into the DS.
Oh, so yeah, it wasn't on the list. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking?
So this Metroid Prime and being able to play Madden and 3D Madden and Mario 64, I think this elevates it to like B tier. Because you're right, there still aren't very many games, and you are right that Mario 64 it's an enhanced port, but yeah, it's a game we'd already played.
You know what's funny is I was thinking B tier, so let's put it at B tier.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Also, do you mind sharing your screen so I can look at you drag and drop
of course.
Console? Because that's fun for me.
Yeah. Let me get that for you. Okay, so you can see me drag and drop in here.
Yeah, I just love that moment. I love it.
Okay, we're putting it in a B tier because it's not a lot of great launch titles. I do think they were very cool. Maybe on a different day I might put it at A tier. Probably not though. I don't think it's as good as these other titles.
But certainly not worth like dropping it down to something bad. Yeah.
No. If you wanted to be like, oh, Mario 64 is the only thing of note here, I will fight you on that. I think there were several things of note here.
Speaking of something bad, let's talk about the Sega Saturn. That was a rude segue. But let's go to the Sega Saturn next.
Sega Saturn. Oh, here we go. US launch. We got Clockwork Knight, Daytona USA, Pebble Beach Golf Links, Panzer Dragoon, Virtua Fighter, and Worldwide Soccer Sega International Victory Goal Edition. Now, I have a confession to make, and I think people on this podcast will remember that I do not have a lot of experience with the Sega Saturn. And that extends to the launch titles. Now, I have played Panzer Dragoon. I've played Daytona USA, mostly in arcades, but I understand the Saturn version is a very faithful port. And of course, I guess I played some Virtua Fighter.
What's funny is looking at this lineup, Daytona USA is a good racing game, I recall. Panzer Dragoon, Virtua Fighter, those are strong games. Virtua Fighter is very strong. This might be better than the DS to me.
Wow. Because I'm thinking,
strong?
in my mind, this is D tier, but, you know.
Really? See, I was like...
like, Panzer Dragoon is cool. I don't care for fighting games, so Virtua Fighter doesn't mean a lot to me.
Someone that loves
usually
fighting
care
games.
That's true.
It's like, Mike, you're a dum-dum. No one likes Virtua Fighter. Dang, if you
I'm
look
not
up...
huge on racing games either.
If you look up the Pebble Beach Golf Links, it's not going to pull up the game. It's just going to pull up the actual Pebble Beach Golf Links, just so everyone knows.
You rank it above the DS. Interesting.
That was my instinct with those, because those are games I recognize and know and like have played. So,
that's true. You were more of a Sega person than I was.
I was.
How did the Saturn version of Virtua Fighter fare against the 32X version of Virtua Fighter?
Well, I never played the 32X version, but
okay.
I just remember it being a fun fighting game. But again, I'm also a child at this point, which is like skews a lot. You know what I mean? It's going to be different. If I pick this up now, it might ruin my childhood.
Yeah, maybe don't. Don't pick it up now.
Can we negotiate to do C tier at the lowest?
Yes.
Instead of D?
Yes.
Can you give me a C?
I give you a C tier.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate you, because I don't think it's as bad as the Genesis, but you're correct in that it doesn't match. I mean, like if you took one game from the DS, for example, if you just took Super Mario 64. That beats all these games on this list combined, realistically.
True, even though it's just an enhanced remake.
Yeah, because that game is just so good. But okay. All right. How about, do you want to pick one? Because I just picked two. Or do you want me to
keep picking. I like when you pick them.
Okay. Then let's go to... We're going to go to another Nintendo property because we only have one more Sony property left. Let's do the GameCube. How does that sound?
Okay. Oh, yeah. This is a launch that I am very familiar with.
GameCube in it up.
GameCube in it up on the GameCube
on the
show.
Tyler Mike GameCube Talk Show.
Okay, and I have to.
We're going to talk about GameCube politics and crazy GameCube medallions. Oh, look at this list. Oh, man. There's 2 games on this list that make me immediately want to give this an S tier.
Yeah. Yep. I know what you mean.
And I didn't even read Crazy Taxi yet.
Oh, gosh.
So we have... do you want to read the lineup? This is your baby.
You read them. You read the lineup.
Okay. All-Star Baseball 2002. Okay. Batman Vengeance. Okay. Crazy Taxi. Great game. Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. Great game. Disney Tarzan Untamed. Didn't play it, but it's probably fine. Luigi's Mansion. True banger.
Ooh, sheesh.
Madden NFL 2002. NHL Hits 2002. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. Another great game. Super Monkey Ball. Popular party game. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Arguably the best Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Wave Race Blue Storm.
Yes.
This might be... This is S to me. This just screams S. Before we even talk about it, I just want to drag it into the S row.
Yeah. Well, there's also... When did Smash Bros. Come out? It wasn't a launch title.
But it was very close.
But it was
afterward.
like really close.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need to consider it a launch title because technically that's not it. It was December 3rd, while the GameCube launch was... What does it say the GameCube launch was? November 18th. So it was like 2 weeks later that Smash came out. So technically not a launch title. Maybe we shouldn't consider it. But you know what? If it's S tier anyway, it's S tier anyway.
I think it's S tier because, okay... Taking all the Nintendo games aside, like Luigi's Mansion.
Great game.
Just looking and Wave Race, just looking at Crazy Taxi, Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX, and Tony Hawk. And then you also have Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. You got great games right out the gate and so much coverage of genre. The only thing missing here to me is an RPG game, but I will forgive that for the sake of you having Tony Hawk and Dave Mirra in a console launch.
Yeah.
Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX. That's a series we might need to talk about because I love those games.
I had the first one for PC, and I played it a lot listening to the soundtrack. Was so
Sublime
good. It was like
on the soundtrack.
Yes,
too.
It was. Yeah, Sublime. They were. It was like it was. I thought better than Matt Hoffman BMX, the like Activision version of Tony Hawk that was just Matt Hoffman on bikes. I thought the Dave Mirra game was better. Maybe I'm biased because I had the original on PC.
But, I don't think you're biased at all because Dave Mirra slaps. It's a great game. It's so good.
Yeah, I played a lot of that game.
Wow, we did this.
I didn't play
really
a lot
quick.
of the second one, but still.
Crazy Taxi. Oh, Crazy Taxi gave birth to Simpsons Road Rage, one of my favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also have Luigi's Mansion, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2, great sequel. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, the cruise ship level alone made me love that game.
Yep. And Wave Race Blue Storm is pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's just Wave Race. What's wrong with more Wave Race?
It's a good jet ski game, you know?
Not a lot of jet ski games, but Wave Race really did it up.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's S tier. If we were waffling between A and S tier, I think Smash coming out 2 weeks later sort of gives it the bump it needs to stay S tier. That's just my opinion. I don't think Smash itself like causes it to go into the S tier, but if we're waffling about it, Smash like allows it to keep S tier.
I will never.
But it sounds like we're not anyway. We're not waffling.
Waffle free.
This is a waffle free zone.
A waffle free podcast. Great games though. Feels good.
Yeah.
And no like Mario game really.
Yeah,
Luigi
just
game
Luigi's
instead.
Mansion.
Give Luigi his due, you know?
Mario.
I love that. Okay. Let's go to another handheld. Let's do the Game Boy Color, something that I am very familiar with. So this will be good.
Game Boy Color.
Watch, I know none of the games on the lineup the minute I say I'm very
it's
familiar
tough
with
because Game Boy Color is it's almost like a Game Boy Pro in the sense that it was like not really a full generation jump, but it was significant enough to cause it to feel like something different, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I've played actually multiples of these games. So you got
What do we got?
only 4 in the US launch. You got Centipede, Game & Watch Gallery 2, Pocket Bomberman, and Tetris DX. So Tetris is just a given. Pocket Bomberman is a fun game. I played it. Very fun. I'm a little underwhelmed though.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this. So Tetris DX is just Tetris but in color, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, Tetris is a great game, but we already gave the original Game Boy big ups for having Tetris. I don't think Game Boy Color gets like big ups for doing Tetris again, but in color, especially when color wasn't really necessary for it. It's very cool. Like, obviously that's the better version, but
is Centipede just Centipede with no extra stuff on it?
I don't know. I don't know.
I thought this would be better. I thought this would be a way better lineup.
It's really not that good. And you got to remember, Tetris was almost 10 years old by the time this thing came out.
Pocket Bomberman's a fun game, though. I played Pocket Bomberman.
I played a lot of Bomberman GB. I don't think that's the same game.
No, it's not. But I played a lot of Pocket Bomberman, and I had a fun time with this game. This actually is a game from my... Oh, there's the tree. I remember the tree. I love this game from my childhood.
It's also a remake, a colorized version of a Game Boy game released a year earlier.
Yeah.
Actually never came out in North America.
In that case, do I dare give it lower than like a C tier? Do I give it a D tier?
I think so. As far as launches goes, you got to remember, folks, we're not ranking consoles here. We're just ranking them by their launch titles. It's okay for a console to have a garbage launch lineup, but still be a great console later on, right?
Yeah, I think you're correct then. I think we give it the old... Do we go E?
I kind of think so, because even the only games of note are just color versions of great Game Boy games.
It's being demoted to the E tier.
We need to put something in the F tier.
It's almost F tier to me, honestly.
Let's put it in the F tier because we got nothing else. Yeah,
let's put it in there.
Because it's just Game Boy games in color. 10 years too late, right?
Yeah.
That's not enough.
Sorry, console from my childhood. You're getting taken down a peg as far as your launch titles go. I don't mean
the real selling point. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't mean to go dive right into a new Nintendo console, but I have another one ready when you're ready. So, but what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say that. Well, now I can't remember what I was gonna say. So,
well, that's a classic of this podcast if I've ever heard it.
Yeah, it was something about being in games. Oh, the real selling point of the Game Boy Color when it came out was less about these like colorized Game Boy games, which were indeed very cool, and actually still played on the original Game Boy. I don't think it didn't have any exclusives at launch that only worked on the Game Boy Color. But the real draw here was like, put in your old Game Boy games and you'll get like some sort of color in them, right? Like, it was like kind of weird, and like you could choose different palettes, and it wasn't great, but it was a cool thing, and that was like why you got the Game Boy Color. And the screen was just better in general too. And it also had, like, I guess the infrared port doesn't mean anything. So that's kind of it, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, like, the Game Boy Color was still worth getting at launch, but not because of the games, especially not for any exclusive games.
Yeah. All right, Game Boy Color, we really got you there. I'm going to go right to another Nintendo property because we have a lot more of those on this list left than the other ones. So I want to talk about my beloved N64.
Okay. Let's talk Nintendo 64. It only had 2 launch titles in the US.
Oh, I'm about to put my boo in the F tier, and I can feel it in my bones.
It might be, well, but you know what those 2 launch titles were?
Pilot Wings 64 and Super Mario 64. Strong
Both
showing.
Absolute bangers, dude.
But
Mario 64 is so good. I love Pilot Wings.
I feel strange putting it up high if it's only got 2 games.
I know. This is original. It has no games.
This is the complete and total N64 got no games early on.
If we look ahead to the European launch here, which was nearly 6 months later.
We had Turok. We had Wayne Gretzky. We had Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, one of my favorite N64 games. We had FIFA. But I feel like that would be judging it on a different thing.
You're right. We were going off of US launch, but I just wanted to throw it a little bit of a bone.
I mean, yeah, I want to be brutal. I want to be brutal to it because I think.
But Super Mario 64,
Super Mario 64 makes it above D tier 100%.
Yes, Super Mario 64 is like Tetris, right? Like, even if the original Game Boy had nothing but Tetris, it's still amazing.
So you want to put it at B tier?
Yeah, because I think like there's only two qualities or two titles, but they are both quality titles. I mean, I played a lot of Pilot Wings, and I played a lot of Super Mario 64. I never even owned Super Mario 64. Somehow I played a lot of it.
Let's go B tier.
I think it's B tier just for that. Like quality over quantity, right?
Quality over quantity, B tier.
Because if there was a console that came out that had 100 launch titles, but they were all garbage, we'd still put it in the F tier, right?
You're right. I can't believe there's only two, but that makes total sense now that I think about it. Also, I don't know, and this was going to be a travesty, I don't know if I ever played Pilot Wings 64.
Oh, boy.
That might be a game I try to collect next and buy, because that's a classic.
It's on the Switch emulator.
It might be, but I want to play it on my 64 with that terrible joystick. I just want to experience the way I would as a child, yeah.
Yeah, it's very chill. Like, all the music is just, like, really relaxing. The game itself is just a very relaxing game. I mean, it gets intense at times when you're like trying to hit the challenges and stuff, but then you go into Birdman mode where it just lets you fly around the islands. You can't die. You just fly around in a Birdman suit. And, oh man, just
feels so good.
So good, dude. Ah, Pilot Wings is great. I love Pilot Wings.
Nice.
We bought it for my dad because he's a hang glider pilot.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Let's bury the lead on this entire podcast. You have never told me once, as our friendship has gone, that your father is a hang gliding pilot.
Oh, yeah. That is 100% true. I can't believe I've never told you that. Yeah, he's a hang glider pilot.
Okay. Episode 219, everybody. Put it in the Codex glossary that this is the episode that Tyler told me his father's a hang gliding pilot. That's amazing. Yeah. That's a weird, fun hobby that I love.
Yeah. He's flown hang gliders for like 50 years, man.
Is it really cool that your dad's James Bond? Is it really cool?
It's very cool. But he didn't really care about the Pilot Wings video game. He's just not into video games. But we got it for him, but I ended up just playing a lot of it because I loved it.
He's like, I can just put my Walkman on and jump off a ledge in this hang glider and listen to chill music while I do it in real life. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would I play a game when I could just go do this?
I could just be the one that does this. I love it. I love that so much. All right. Well, we got multiple Nintendo properties still. We got 3 Nintendo properties and 2 others, so I kind of want to go through these Nintendo ones.
Okay.
Let's go to the Super Nintendo because the last one we're going to talk about is your beloved Wii U. So let's go to Super Nintendo.
Okay. Let's see. Super Nintendo launch titles. You got Mario World.
You got Mario World. That's big. It's really big. You got
very few launch titles though. F-Zero, Gradius 3, Pilot Wings, SimCity, and Super Mario World.
That's it, huh?
Mario World carries pretty hard.
It does.
The original Super Nintendo Pilot Wings, very cool. Not as cool as Pilot Wings 64, in my opinion.
F-Zero was a good game. Popular.
Yeah.
SimCity, port of SimCity was weird, but I played it and it was fine.
F-Zero was really cool at the time because it made use of what we've been talking about with Super Nintendo as we go through console wars, but Super Nintendo has a thing called Mode 7, which allows it to do some like sort of pseudo 3D stuff. F-Zero made extensive use of that, which was very cool for a launch title, and definitely was like something that set it apart from the Sega Genesis, because the Genesis really couldn't do anything like that.
Also, Gradius 3 is a side-scrolling spaceship shooter. It looks pretty cool. And that looks like fun. So this
Pilot
is
Wings
strong.
did a lot of Mode 7 too.
This is strong to me. But it's not S or A. And maybe it's A strong. It might be A strong.
With Super Mario World carries pretty hard.
Yeah. And none of the other games are bad games. So I'm going to say A tier. What do you think about A tier? A tier good?
I think A tier is good. Just mostly for Super Mario World. But Pilot Wings is cool too, and F-Zero's very cool. And those were games that couldn't exist without the Mode 7, which I always enjoy. Like, as soon as a console comes out, you see a game on that console and you go, yeah, that could only be done on this console. Like, they could have made Super Mario World on the NES, like, right? They could have probably gotten most of that stuff in there, and it would have been mostly the same game, just like lower resolution and like just like 8-bit graphics instead of 16-bit. But F-Zero really couldn't have done it. Pilot Wings really couldn't have done it. So I think it gets points for that.
I think so too. All right, you ready for our next one? And we're going to go a non-Nintendo property now.
Okay.
The PSP, the PlayStation Portable.
PlayStation Portable.
And I have the list up here. You ready for it?
Yes.
Ape Escape on the Loose. Darkstalkers Chronicle the Chaos Tower. Dynasty Warriors. Gretzky NHL. Luminous. Is it Luminous or Lumens?
I think it's Luminous.
Metal Gear Acid. NBA, just NBA, Need for Speed Underground Rivals, NFL Street 2 Unleashed, Ridge Racer, Spider-Man 2, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 Remix, Twisted Metal Head On, Untold Legends Brotherhood of the Blade, Wipeout Pure, and World Tour Soccer Challenge Edition.
Oh, boy.
That's a lot of games and a lot of very recognizable titles.
Yeah, a lot of PlayStation properties on here. I think they did a good job here. The games I am familiar with intensely, Luminous. Oh man, I played a lot of Luminous. My hot take, Luminous is better than Tetris.
Whoa.
But has not quite had the, it's my favorite puzzle game. It probably hasn't quite had the effect on popular culture that Tetris did. So I don't, in my list, it doesn't, like popular culture relevance is important to me on this list. So I don't think it's above Tetris in that respect, but I think it's a better game. Metal Gear Acid, that was a game I played a little bit of. It's the storyline is not canon, so it's not part of the Metal Gear universe, and it's like really card based, which was something that was a big turnoff for me in my teenage years. Nowadays, I've come around to liking card games a little bit more, so I should go back and visit it. But because the story wasn't canon, I was like, I don't care about this. And I've played Spider-Man 2, which was a pretty faithful recreation of the PS2 version of the Spider-Man 2 movie game. So that's worth something. That's probably was the best Spider-Man game up until, the recent ones from Insomniac. Tony Hawk's Underground 2 Remix is really fun. Really good game. I think the series had kind of fallen off by the time Underground came in. But this was a really good, like, portable Tony Hawk experience that elevated my previous portable Tony Hawk experience that was Tony Hawk 2 on the GBA. And honorable mention to me, Wipeout Pure, because the original homebrew jailbreaks, they didn't call them jailbreaks back then, but jailbreaks for the PSP were accomplished using Wipeout Pure. There was like a little web browser built into it for one reason or another, I can't remember. And that's where you could hack your PSP from. So I thought that was pretty cool. The game itself was fine, but it means a lot to me because it was like early homebrew days of the PSP.
Nice. I was thinking with this whole lineup right here that this has a little something for everybody, which makes it very strong. And the game that I want to rise to the top of this list, NFL Street is a very good series. Did you ever play NFL Street or NFL Street 2?
Not a whole lot. That's like 3-on-3, isn't it? Or
yeah, it's really fun. I think it was 7-on-7, but it was really, you'd have 3 linemen and then you'd have like wide receiver stuff. It was a really fun premise. All the street games, like NHL Street, or not NHL, NBA Street, and then I think they had a FIFA Street or something like that too.
Yeah, there was a FIFA Street. NHL Street, that would be like rollerblade hockey.
Rollerblade hockey, yeah, which would be cool.
That would be sweet too. I'd play that.
Yeah, I would love it. It was like that one scene in D2 The Mighty Ducks. Everyone loves it. Ridge Racer, but I'm looking here. They got Ridge Racer games, so they're going off of their PlayStation series. They got Ridge Racer, they got Dynasty Warriors. I think that's a pretty popular. That's cross-platform, but I feel like it was a very popular game on PlayStation. I don't know much about Darkstalkers Chronicle. I don't know much about Untold Legends, but then Spider-Man 2's on there. I think this is very strong.
This is pretty strong.
And I'm not excited about this one, mostly because I didn't own it. This could be S tier.
I don't know if I give it S tier.
I was thinking S tier because of like the sheer variety and also Luminous. You got, for me, I love NFL Street. Metal Gear Acid, you said was fine.
Yeah, I need to go back and play it again. I would probably have a higher opinion of it today than I did back in the day.
But then you got Tony Hawk's Underground 2, which you said you loved. And also you have a Twisted Metal game, which is like the quintessential Sony PlayStation exclusive title that I could think of at this time was Twisted Metal.
Yeah, that one and Ape Escape.
Yeah, and Ape Escape. Maybe, do you want to go A? Because it doesn't really match the Xbox and the GameCube. That's the big problem, right?
Yeah.
For us. We'll just stack it in the A tier, though. I think PSP might be one of the strongest portables looking at the launch, though.
Yeah. I think in terms of variety, like it doesn't have a Tetris, but in terms of variety, I mean, it has Luminous, which is its Tetris in my heart, but not popular culture relevant.
But it does have a puzzle game, which is important
Yes,
for this.
and it does have a lot. Like the original Game Boy didn't have a lot of launch titles, and so that it had some very good ones. I think that sort of keeps it from being S tier.
Gotcha. Well, we're gonna go right into another Nintendo property, in that we are going to jump into the U.S. launch of the Nintendo 3DS.
Okay. 3DS. What was the launch of the 3DS? This is another one that my brother picked up day one.
We got ourselves a long time on. A lot of games on here. We got there's AR games that are preloaded. It mentions Asphalt 3D, another Asphalt racing game. Bust-A-Move Universe, love me some Bust-A-Move. Combat of Giants, Dinosaurs 3D, never heard of it. Face Raiders, Find Me, these are some preloaded applications. Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars. Madden NFL Football. Nintendogs and Cats. Pilot Wings Resort. Pro Evolution Soccer 2011 3D. Puzzle Swap, that's a preloaded. Should I include the preloaded, or should I skip them?
Yeah, I think they count, because when you bought your 3DS, they came on there.
Okay. Rayman 3D, Ridge Racer 3D, Samurai Warriors Chronicles, Steel Diver, Super Monkey Ball 3D, Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition, The Sims 3, and Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Shadow Wars.
Oh, it was The Sims 3, but not The Sims 3D? Get out of here.
So,
it's a lot of games.
It's a lot. Well, I was thinking, I think you and I are thinking the same thing. It's a lot of games, but it's a lot of meh games. Not bad, but just like, okay, it feels like you're just filling up the system.
Yeah, like Super Monkey Ball 3D. That's cool. It's another Monkey Ball game, but in 3D. And while the 3D on the 3DS is very cool from a technological perspective, I love that they were able to do it without needing glasses or anything. Like, it just works. It's not that cool. Like, I think most people just turn it off. And even, years later, they would start selling 2DSs that didn't even have it built in, and no one cared, right?
100%.
So the 3D doesn't really add anything to me. So then you end up with an Asphalt game, which is fine. Those games are fun. Rayman, which I think is just the original Rayman.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Rayman 2. It's Rayman 2, The Great Escape, but in 3D. So that's cool. Portable version of Rayman 2. Ridge Racer, fine. That's a racing game.
What is Steel Diver? I'm looking this up right now. I don't think I've ever heard of this game.
It's like a submarine simulator.
Sub-sim. Interesting.
I guess that's neat, but...
Yeah, I'm looking at this. It was just a one and done. It came out from Nintendo, though. Well, that was developed by EAD and Vitae. There was a free-to-play sequel called Steel Diver Sub Wars on 2014 on the eShop.
I think the only game I ever really spent any time with here was Pilot Wings.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It was fun. It was Pilot Wings game. It was neat. Like but it didn't blow my mind. The 3D was like kind of cool at the time, but only kind of cool. This is like D tier, I think.
Yeah, and this Steel Diver game looks like it's a kind of a strategy game, not necessarily a sub sim, but like strategy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And all the preloaded games were not very good. Like the AR stuff was like kind of cool because it was like you came with a pack of like cards and you put the card down on the table and like stuff would pop out. It was really more of like a proof of concept of like, see what kinds of things you could do with the cameras that are on this thing and like the 3D and like the motion tracking and stuff. Like it was just showing, it was like a developer thing of like, look, here's what you could do. Now think of something better than what we did. So like, wasn't that cool from a game? Wasn't fun, right? Lego Star Wars 3, fine, but that was available elsewhere, right? Madden NFL, also available elsewhere. And the novelty of being able to play things like Madden or Lego Star Wars portably, like the novelty of that had sort of worn off at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think
so I'm trying to be consistent with like when I'm like, oh, playing Super Mario 64 and portably was so cool. And I'm like, Super Monkey Ball 3D, who cares? Portably.
I think you're right.
Like the novelty had sort of worn off.
Are you also curious about Combat of Giants Dinosaurs 3D? Be real with me. You gotta be. I
am curious as to what your curiosity is.
Okay, that's it. We're going to play a quick game. You ready for the quick game?
Yeah.
Guess Combat of Giants 3D's Metacritic score. All right.
28%.
Okay, I haven't looked at it. I have the page open, but I'm scrolling.
I don't know what it is.
I'm gonna say this was a role playing game. Apparently.
Oh.
I'm gonna say it had a 50. A 50, and we're doing prices right rules. So you're right if I go over. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's a 44 out of 100. You win, Tyler.
But you got closer. I think that means more.
Apparently, you would play as dinosaurs, it sounds like.
Oh, that sounds like right up your alley.
I mean, honestly, this sounds like, this was 2011. I was a grown man by this point. I feel like if I got this game, I'd be like, yeah, I'm playing Combat of Giants. Get out of my life, I ain't afraid. This whole, anytime we talk about DS games, I just think about getting rid of my DS and how stupid that was in retrospect. So I got to move on. We can't focus on it. But I agree. We
no
need
Mario,
a D-tier.
like no Super Mario World or Land 3D Land
honestly,
here.
E tier. I'm not afraid to go E tier with it. Is that too far?
Okay. No. Launch title for 3DS sucked. Again, the 3DS was great. I loved my 3DS.
Now, are we going to get some angry Nintendog emails?
Maybe.
Possibly, but
the novelty of Nintendogs had worn off by that point. Nintendogs was cool on the original DS because it was like a really high-powered Tamagotchi. But by the time the 3DS came out, yeah.
Actually, it's Nintendogs plus cats. They don't even give the cats the Nintendo. They don't even give it that. Rude.
Yeah.
0 out of 10. Put it in the E tier.
Put it in the E tier. Yeah, 3DS, not a great launch.
All right. The last non-Nintendo one we're talking about, our penultimate system here, is the Sega Dreamcast. That is what we were talking about next. We will see how this goes.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Sonic Adventure is a banger, and I won't hear anything else.
Also, there are a lot of games on here.
Yeah.
Never say that the Sega Dreamcast, when it launched, ain't got no games. We have Arrow Wings, Air Force Delta, Blue Stinger, Kart, Flag to Flag. I'm guessing that's some sort of capture the flag game? I have no idea. Expendable, The House of the Dead 2, Hydro Thunder.
It's like a racing game, IndyCar racing, it looks like.
Oh, that's cool. Monaco Grand Prix, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL 2K, NFL Blitz 2000, Pen Trisalon. Don't know what that is, but it seems pretty neat. Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, TNN Motorsports Hardcore Heat, Tokyo Extreme Racer, Trick Style. Tyler, am I going to give a Sega console high remarks? I might.
You might.
This seems
you're
good.
A Sega guy. Honestly, looking at this list, I don't have that much experience with it. I played a lot of Sonic Adventure. Okay, a lot. Because I didn't own a Dreamcast as a kid. I borrowed my buddy's Dreamcast, and he had Sonic Adventure. And he also had Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, which was not a launch title, but was the best version of Tony Hawk 2 until the Xbox version came out. But I haven't really played any of these other ones. The Dreamcast always felt like this sports-focused console. We got multiple racing games. We have multiple NFL games here. I just was into it. Yeah. So I don't have experience with all of these. I do want to give honorable mention to Power Stone. It's actually, my honorable mention is more to Power Stone 2. This was like a sort of party game. It kind of was maybe the proto Fusion Frenzy a little bit. It had a lot of different kinds of games. I didn't play a lot of it, but at PAX in 2015, I watched a guy I know win the Power Stone 2 tournament that was there. And as far as I know, that's the biggest Power Stone tournament ever. It was Power Stone 2 Worlds. And so I know the world champion of Power Stone. So, Sean, if you're listening to this, thinking about you, buddy.
I love that. That's a great story. I love that you have a friend that won that, and you also have a friend that is a professional big buck hunter player.
That is true. I do have a friend who's a professional big buck hunter.
We need to have them on the podcast because I want to know everything there is to know about the world of professional big buck hunting.
Oh, she probably could give us all of the history of the pro scene.
Would she join? Would she do it?
Maybe.
Can you ask her?
I'll ask her.
I want to make this a reality. I want to start having guests on and I want to have guests that are experts in their video game field.
She is definitely a big buck expert.
By the way, Pen Triicelon, it's a pun, is a racing game, and it's Triicelon because they're penguins. So it's kind of adorable.
Oh, okay.
Get some points from me for that. This, to me...
Soul Calibur was pretty sweet, too.
Yeah, Soul Calibur is a great game.
That's a good fighting game. I'm not really into fighting games, but that's a cool fighting game.
It had NFL Blitz on it. It had Mortal Kombat on it. I want to put this in the A tier. Like, I don't know enough about a lot of these games to give it S, but I feel like it's A. It's probably the best launch for a Sega console. Easily.
And we have two NFL games here, but they're focused on different things. Like 2K is more of the simulation, like serious football, and then Blitz is like arcade. Let's like break the rules here. And
Blitz
do
is
things
like
that aren't
the whistle
possible.
blows, and I'm going to suplex someone. That's what Blitz is.
Exactly.
And I love that. I think it goes in the A tier. I know we have a lot of games in the A tier right now, but I think I want to give Sega some props because we definitely got them good with the Genesis's weak lineup and the Saturn's weak lineup.
Yeah.
This is their win. This is their W.
Adventure. Sonic Adventure is very cool. I know it doesn't hold up that well to scrutiny these days. Like the voice acting is weird and like the animations are like kind of off and it's like buggy. I don't know. I just loved it. I played a lot of it and I just really loved it, you know?
That's fine to me. I think that's great. I think we should put it in A tier. And we're going to end the list today with a personal favorite, a Tyler Osby special, the Nintendo Wii U. That's what we're going to talk about to end this list because I know you, Tyler, and you told me this is a sleeper launch title lineup.
Double S tier. No, just kidding. It is a large launch lineup. I will read them all right now. U.S. launch November 18th, 2012. Assassin's Creed 3, not an exclusive. Batman Arkham City Armored Edition, like sort of it's like Game of the Year version of Arkham City. Ben 10 Omniverse, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Chasing Aurora, Darksiders 2, Epic Mickey 2, The Power of 2, ESPN Sports Connection, FIFA 13, Funky Barn, Game Party Champions, Just Dance 4, Little Inferno, Madden 13, Mass Effect 3 Special Edition, Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition, Nano Assault Neo, NBA 2K13, New Super Mario Bros. U, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, Nintendo Land, Rabbids Land, Scribblenauts Unlimited, Sing Party, Skylanders Giants, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, Tank, all of those have exclamation marks at the end, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Wii U Edition, Transformers Prime the game, Trine 2 Director's Cut, Warriors Orochi 3 Hyper, Wipeout 3, Your Shape Fitness Evolve 2013, and Zombie U. Whew! That's a big launch lineup.
That's a lot of games. Now,
sure is.
How do we separate? This is going to be kind of heartless. The trash. Let's get real. There's some games in here that are like probably not that great, to be honest.
Yeah.
So Ben 10 Omniverse. I'm looking at you.
Okay. Yeah, probably not great. And look, I haven't played all these games, so we're going to throw some stuff out that's like, we're going to be like, probably trash, and somebody's going to be like, no, that game is the best game on the Wii U, like Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition. I don't know what it is. Doesn't sound great. I'm going to judge it by a title. Not even by the cover. I'm judging it by the title. Same for Nano Assault Neo.
Yeah. Also,
throw them out.
There's a Nintendo Land and a Rabbids Land. So many lands. Is this a console or a theme park? Sorry, everybody. I think... it's got variety, which is giving it a lot of points in my book.
So some standouts here for me. I'm not going to count all of these like multi-platform, like Assassin's Creed 3, Call of Duty, Arkham City. Those all came out on the Wii U. They came out late on the Wii U, I think, too. Like the Arkham City Armored Edition, I think, is like a Game of the Year edition of Arkham City, so it had all the DLC. Lots of times they were really cool. Like they were probably the best console version was the Wii U, if you're not counting multiplayer, because you could usually do cool stuff with the screen. I think Mass Effect 3 Special Edition, before the PC, before the Legendary Edition of the Mass Effect games, I think that was the best way to play Mass Effect 3, because it came preloaded with all of the story fixing patches, and it had like a way to order your squad around with the touchscreen. You could it was a very cool edition.
Ooh, that is cool.
But most of these games are like not exclusive on the Wii U, and there's little reason to buy a Wii U to play these versions of the game. So standouts then are New Super Mario Bros. U, great game, a continuation of the New Super Mario Bros. Aesthetic and style. And it had a cool thing where you could give the gamepad to someone else as like a fifth player, and they could make little cloud things for you to jump on, or they could like block you. They could kind of harm or help or harm you, which gave like somebody else who didn't really play Mario or like wasn't like a game player that could do like reaction stuff like the way you need to in a platformer, like it gave them something cool to do that could be helpful, or if they wanted to be mean about it, they could be mean to you with it too. Nintendo Land, underrated, very fun party game. Had a bunch of different like little mini games in it. That was really cool. And they were all built around the gamepad, like 4 players and a person on the gamepad. So there was like a cool, like 4 people would get to do one thing, and then the person with the gamepad was like, could see everything and like was like working against them or with them or stuff like that. Like it was a cool, the whole Wii U was like a neat experiment for Nintendo in asymmetrical gameplay, where you give people a multiplayer game, but some people are actually playing like a different game than the other people, but they're in the same game, which I thought was really interesting. Didn't really go anywhere, but I still thought it was cool.
What do you think about some of these Wii U edition ones, like the Tekken Tag Tournament Wii U edition? Do we count that as being almost exclusive because it is a Wii U thing, or is it still just a port?
I'd have to know what the enhancements are for the Wii U. Like if it's the Wii U edition because it's on Wii U,
yeah.
If it was like significantly cooler or better because of that, then that's fine. I didn't play it, so I can't really speak to it. Zombie U is actually really cool too. That was like a shooter zombie game from Ubisoft that utilized the gamepad in a pretty cool way. It eventually got ported to other consoles as well, but it was for a little while like kind of the non-Nintendo reason to buy a Wii U.
I was saying that's a survival horror game from Nintendo, which is not from Nintendo, but on a Nintendo platform, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it was exclusive for a while.
Yeah, they didn't release it onto the Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One until 2015. You got a whole 3 years of it being exclusive.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, so, overall, though, like New Super Mario Bros. U is fine. It's just more New Super Mario Bros., so it wasn't like anything groundbreaking on its own. Nintendo Land was cool. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't like the Wii, it wasn't the Wii Sports that the Wii U needed. So again, that one was fine, I guess. I had a lot of fun with it, but I don't know if it was like a great game. The rest of these are almost all of them are just available on other platforms. And by the time the Wii U came out in 2012, you probably already had a Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3. So you weren't getting anything that you couldn't get on what you already had, right? With the Assassin's Creeds and Call of Duties and Mass Effects and Batmans, right? On this list, the Maddens, all of those. Like you didn't need to buy a Wii U just to play those games because you could play them on your 360. So,
but you could play them portably, right?
Well,
kind of portably, kind of. This isn't full on Switch yet. Yeah.
Yeah, like the gamepad, you could sit on your couch and play on just the gamepad, which was cool at the time. It's definitely, you can tell the Switch is really what Nintendo wanted to do with that. But the tech just like wasn't there in 2012 to do good games on like tablet quality hardware. So yeah, that was like kind of cool. The Wii U had like a built-in TV remote control too. Like it did some cool stuff. It was just a little bit like too little too late. And also the whole marketing snafu that we all know about, that they just really kind of scuffed it on the Wii U in general. But we're talking about launch titles, not cool capabilities of the console. So, I don't think playing games on the couch, like that was really what it was. It wasn't portable. It was, you could play games on the couch while somebody else used the TV.
Yeah. It was the kids like stop hogging the TV thing.
Yeah. And for some people that made it worth it. But I think for the vast majority of people, it was like, oh, it's an Xbox 360 that I can just play on the couch. It wasn't worth it. It was like a worse version of those, because if you were playing a game online, this was before the days of crossplay, you're playing Call of Duty online, you're playing with other Wii U people. There weren't very many other Wii U people.
Oh, I didn't even think about population. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of rough.
So, it's kind of D tier for me, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think D tier. I agree. I thought this one might be a standout, but it's a little D tier.
I love the Wii U. You know I love it. But the launch didn't have it.
I love the 64, and I wanted to be more cruel to it. But in the end, we were like, there was 2 really good games for the 64. So that's the whole list. Do we want to go through and just say what they are?
Sure.
Starting at F tier?
Starting at F tier.
F tier. We have one console. We have the Game Boy Color.
It was just remakes of 10-year-old Game Boy games, but in color. Not that cool.
That's right. Not that cool. E tier, we have the Sega Genesis, the Nintendo 3DS, and the Wii U.
Boy, Nintendo really wasn't doing great on launches in the 2010 to 2015
No, they really weren't.
era.
Then on D tier, we have the PlayStation, and we have the Xbox One. Then on the C tier, we have the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, and the Sega Saturn. Then on the B tier, we have the Nintendo Entertainment System, the PS2, the Nintendo DS, and the Nintendo 64. Then on A tier, we have the Game Boy Advanced, the Nintendo Wii, the Game Boy, the Xbox 360, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation Portable, and the Sega Dreamcast. Our A tier is pretty stacked because there were so many that just almost made it to S.
Yeah.
So close. But the S tier only has 2 consoles on it, and that would be the original Xbox and the Nintendo GameCube. Do we feel good about this? I feel good about it.
I feel good about this. Honestly, we come back to this in a year when I've forgotten what order we put stuff in. We probably make a different list. It's all just 100%. Our opinion and how we're feeling right in this moment as we look at these games. If you got problems, I mean, you can tell us, but we're not going to feel bad about it.
You can send us an email to codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com, and we might read it on the air.
That's
if you
true.
have legitimate critiques. If you just call us trash and garbo, we're not going to read it.
True.
Well, I'll still read it, and I'll just cry alone, but that's a whole different podcast. All right. Well, to end this day, do we want to say a real quick what you've been playing segment, Tyler?
Sure. I've been traveling a lot, so I've taken my Steam Deck, but I haven't really been playing it on the plane. You know, the thing about the Steam Deck on planes is if you don't have an internet connection, sometimes like PC, this is like a sort of a PC game thing and not really a Steam thing. Like games just don't work if they don't have an internet connection. Like I try to play Titanfall 2 and I go to load it up and it's like sign into Origin. I'm like, well, I don't have internet on this plane. It's a 6-hour flight. I can't play Titanfall 2. So I didn't do a lot of playing on the plane, but I did play through like the tutorial level of Titanfall 2 in the hotel room. But that's kind of it because I've been super busy and just traveling a lot. So I haven't really had a ton of time to play games.
I get it. That's fine. Well, I kind of went rogue this week. I started playing New World again, the MMO from Amazon. Our friend plays it, our mutual friend. He's like, I'm coming back to it, man. You should check it out. I installed it. Wow. What a better game than when it started. Now, is it a great game? I don't know about that yet, but it's a way better game than when it started. The combat still feels good. But so, for example, I played, according to Steam, 7.25 hours roughly, and I got to level 16. This was at launch. I've played about 3 more hours on a brand new character, and they're at like level 22. That's how much faster the leveling is now. It's just way quicker to level up your person, which is great.
And that's more fun.
To me, it is because you're getting resources faster and you're getting to end game quicker. And it doesn't feel like you're wasting my time. Mm-hmm. Because initially in that game, it felt like they were wasting my time. And I'm like, I don't have the time to just put towards this. Whereas now I feel like if I just play it casually, I'll hit the level 60 cap in like 2 or 3 weeks. Because I played it pretty casually. You know, I had one big day where I played quite a bit, and then I've barely played it at all besides that. And then I also played Destiny 2 because Festivals of Lost is going on right now, which is silly. I haven't played
Destiny in like a month.
But, well, if you added a reason to log in, if you do the intro quest to Festival of Lost, they give you a sniper rifle that's actually really good. It has snapshot sights and opening shot on it, so it's like a good PvP sniper rifle.
Oh, nice.
For doing the first intro of it and playing one Festival of Lost thing. But yeah, that's kind of all I played. The Witcher kind of fell behind, which is a bummer because I was about to go to Skellige, and I just completely stopped. So I might pull away from New World and play that this week because I still am loving The Witcher 3. It's too many games. Just too many games to play.
Too many games. Too many good games.
Too many good games. Well, next week we are going to pop back into Console Wars. We're almost done with that book. This was kind of a respite from the Console Wars thing. Didn't know how long it was going to take, but I'm glad we did it. If you want to suggest episode tier lists like this or just let us know your thoughts, you can email us to codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can join our Discord if you go to email us and I will send you a link, or you can go to my Twitter page at Mecoletta, MECOLETTA. Click on the pinned tweet at the top of my profile. That is an invite that never expires. Tyler's on Twitter at SneakerElfELPH. I think that's it for the day. Do you want to say bye to everybody, Tyler?
Goodbye, everybody.